Welcome to Matcha Minutes. This is the first episode of Matcha Minutes. As many of you will remember, we were Sore Will Solutions for a long time, and now we have rebranded to Matcha Minutes. Today's show, though, is going to be very interesting. We have retired Master Sergeant Marvin E. Lockett, who served 20 years of service around the world. He's an educator, a consultant, an advocate for veterans, and someone who runs a half marathon every week carrying the American flag as a symbol of unity. Welcome to the show, Marvin. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, sir. Thank
you. You run a half marathon every week.
Every week. And this week I did two, because I did one today as well because of
in the rain.
In the rain.
It is raining outside.
Sleet, snow, 2 feet snow. Doesn't matter to me. I'm still doing it every week.
When did you start doing that?
So when I retired from the military, you start to figure out, like, what am I going to do now?
Okay.
What's next? And you have to find that, because if you don't, what happens is we're like a car. If you let it sit there for a while, it's going to rot, right? So I decided, I think, let me find running. I said, that's something I did in the military. Maybe that's something I can do. At first, I just ran as just me and, different miles. And then I was like, you know what? I need to do something that kind of brings community together and I'm proud of. And the flag happened to be that one thing. So I started carrying the U.S. flag. It was I retired in 16. I started doing it more towards the 18 and 19. And then it hit every week 2 years ago. I started doing it every week. So
I will say that I did see you running. That's kind of how I said, we need to have that gentleman on the show. I mean, anybody that is that dedicated, and I've seen you more than once out there running down K7. I'm waiting for people to be following you, it's kind of Forrest Gump it, just have all these people follow you. I haven't seen that yet, but that is amazing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves? I know you're a 20-year veteran, but tell us a little bit about what the things you're doing now and things you're involved with.
All right. So, of course, I live in the Lansing community.
Okay.
Moved here after retirement in 2016. I do work, of course, not just my consulting, but I also work on installation for Fort Leavenworth. I'm sorry.
I want to interrupt you for 1 second. This is a Detroit Lions shirt that he is wearing. We are going to excuse that for the show because I got a lot of Chiefs fans out there. I don't want anybody to think we're not representing.
I'm not mad at y'all Chiefs fans. It seems that both the Chiefs and the Lions had a situationship that is similar, i.e. we didn't both make the playoffs.
That's right.
I think, honestly, though, next year is going to be a great year for both the Chiefs and the Lions, because now we have garbage schedules because we didn't finish very high. So I have to rep where I'm from. It's all about a loyalty thing, right?
Sure.
However, now I don't go to Chiefs games unless the Lions come.
Okay.
I'm still waiting on the Lions Chiefs matchup in Detroit, and because then I want to see that. We got to stop coming here.
Right. We'll get to that later in the show because that's a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
So go on with your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Nah, you're good. So there's a lot of things I do in the community. I teach on Fort Leavenworth. Okay. I am a senior instructor for the Army Sharp Academy that teaches sexual violence prevention and response. We teach that to soldiers, family members. We also teach that to outreach individuals like colleges. Like one of them happens to be a Kansas University, that we help them and assist them in teaching prevention once a year before school starts. So there's a lot of things I have my hands. I'm a coach. I coach kids soccer called the Spartans. We call it the Spartans, but it's for Lance Recreation. And right now we're working on trying to go undefeated this year, but we're also in basketball season right now, and we're trying to go undefeated. So
you coach basketball?
I coach basketball as well. Right. So I'm involved in everything that happens to help people grow. So kids, teaching them teamwork, make sure communication, differences are okay, but as long as you work as a team, that's where we want you to go. I'm also a father. I got 3 kids or 4 kids. Step kid, he's right now up in Manhattan doing a trade thing. I have one daughter who's a soldier now. She's a 13th Fox, which is kind of like right now in this time and age of what's going on within our country. It's nervousness more because
for those people who don't know what 13 Foxtrot is, why don't you tell them?
Oh, she is a forward observer. So that means she is out with the infantry calling for fire for the artillery men and women.
She is on the battlefield.
She is on the battlefield, 100%. Wow. And that is not a comfortable situation for a lot of people because everybody doesn't want women in the battlefield.
Yeah.
However, she chose that. and she is doing it right now. And matter of fact, she's at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I'm
Wow.
very proud of her. But also as a father, I
Very
know the
concerned.
influences of war. I know what could happen there, so I'm a concerned dad.
I can only imagine. That's thank her for her service. Thank you for your service. I did 10 years in the Guard, 11 Bravo. So I went spent some time at Fort Benning,
Oh,
one stop unit training.
you
So
had some 13 Fox individuals with you
we
at all
did, we
times.
did, we did. I got out right before I got out in 2003, right before our unit went to Saudi, and our unit doesn't even exist anymore. It was out of Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So I just missed being deployed. So I never got to serve in combat. So I definitely appreciate the sacrifices your family is making to make sure that we're safe. You grew up as an Army brat. I grew up as an Army brat. For those people who don't understand what that's like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's like being in jail, but with benefits.
I've never said that. Okay.
So when you grow up as an Army brat, as well as you know, and I do, is we move a lot. It's like
A
getting
lot.
transferred every year to 2 years, changing schools. Which I've been to 5 high schools throughout my lifetime, which
Wow.
people can't even imagine. Because you talk about 5, there's only 4 years in high school.
That's right.
So 1 year I went for 6 months, didn't find out we were leaving, and then I got shipped off before my mom even went to Pennsylvania, and I did 6 months with my grandma in a village that my family all grew up in.
Wow.
So I got to, it was like a historical thing. I got to go to school that my mom went to, and all my grandma's kids went to. But like that's hard on a child.
Yeah.
I had to make friends and learned how to move on the fly and adapt a lot just to make sure I could survive. And so yeah, being an Army brat is difficult. My mom, Lieutenant Colonel, so I had to learn how to
Wow.
work within the confines of military structure early. So the discipline side of the house was definitely more harsh than my friends, of course, which didn't understand it. I didn't even have friends that came to spend the night at my house because they called my mom the warden. That's how stressful and discipline wise I was, and I grew up in.
I think being an Army brat teaches us to be resilient.
Yes, 100%. Sometimes even when you don't want to have to be resilient, it's going to be pushed upon you.
We spent 8 years in Germany. My dad was stationed at Frankfurt. We lived in Butzbach.
Okay.
But we actually stayed still for 8 years. But every year I was making new friends because everybody was always leaving me. And so it was difficult for me at that time to really understand that world as to why I'm always having to make new friends. And it's not easy.
No.
Especially when you first get somewhere and you're trying to break into those friendship groups and it's tough. So you have to be resilient. After serving, you served in combat?
I did. I went to, well, my first deployment was Iraq for a special mission called a YS Tasker. Basically, you select one individual from location. I was stationed in Hawaii, and they sent me to the West Coast to be with the INSCOM, which is the intel community, to actually field a piece of equipment to identify sniper attacks.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first deployment, and went to Baghdad, then Abu Ghraib area. After that, came back, went ahead to be a drill sergeant for a little bit down in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
And then when I left there, I had my other deployment. So 15 months to Iraq for Camp Bucca, which was detainee operations with the 42nd Military Police Company or Brigade that's no longer activated. And then came back for about 7 months, and then right to Afghanistan as the first sergeant of 170th Military Police Company, the Dragon Slayers, as we called ourselves. We went to Afghanistan, Kandahar City. We were the first MP company to land on ground to relieve another one that was there.
Did you actually see combat? Were you in the fight?
All my deployments, I was in the fight. Did I actually have the one-on-one experience, i.e. as some of my soldiers? I don't feel I did, but my soldiers definitely went through that situation. Matter of fact, today I ran because of the loss of a soldier who was killed in action today. So that's why I was out there in the rain with my flag, my honor to fallen for Jason Weaver, who was killed in action. So we saw a lot of action, but my soldiers got the blunt of it.
Wow. I can't imagine. I can only liken losing a soldier, and I never had that experience to losing a family member. Somebody that you bleed with, somebody you go through the trenches with. So I can't imagine the kind of hole that probably fills you or you have in your heart for somebody that you've lost like that, and you kind of remember that. Is he the only a soldier that you've lost, or has there been more?
Oh, no, no. So on Saturday, which was a mark, I always run on Saturdays,
Mhm.
but I ran for David Fahey Jr., who was
Wow.
also killed in action. So we had maybe a short span of when David was blown up, killed in action. And then a few days later, Jason was actually killed in action. And it was surreal to even do it. At first, I didn't even realize, what was going on because I had just got on R&R, which is
Mhm.
rest and recuperation, and I flew back to the States to be with my kids and take them to Disneyland. I got the call from Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington, and I was looking at the number like, who's calling me? Like, no one knows I'm
Mhm.
back except for, my family. And they were like, hey, you lost one. And at first I was like, if they lost a weapon or something like that, hey, punish them. Get the commander involved. Article 15. What? I have a whole master sergeant there. He knows how to handle this. I said, so what are you calling me for? And they were like, no, no, no. You lost a soldier. And then that is when it hit. My mom was like sitting across from me. My daughter was eating ribs because she was only like 5 or 6 at the time.
Mhm.
My son being finicky about how he eats, he was complaining. And I was just kind of like, nah, hung up. Like, yeah, nah, that didn't happen. And then, of course, I got the call back. They said, no, don't hang up. Let's talk about this and this and that. And so then I found out, what the real impacts of war is because you don't have a choice on what's going on. Two people are fighting for some type of cause. And then at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is they get the drop on you and they take one of your people off the battlefield. And that's what happened to David first. And then 2 days later, while I'm still at Disneyland coping, trying to figure out this, they called me about Jason. And so it was
Wow.
like a smack in the face. Like I just left from being down there to come to Disney World, the greatest place on earth with happiness and everything else.
Mhm.
I'm spending time with my kids. And that shut down. There was no more. I wasn't really in Disney anymore. My mind was in Afghanistan because now my soldiers needed me. Like, what am I doing here? So I eventually had to just tell my mom. I said, "Hey, look," I said, "I need you to get my kids back to their moms. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the first funeral, which was David, that was stateside in New York." And so I went there. I flew in. I met with one of my squad leaders because we didn't want our soldiers in a box to come back alone.
Sure.
So we sent them home with somebody. And so I got there, I met with the soldier, and then I finally got to see my soldier. And it's like, it was just surreal. It was the most painful thing. It was like losing a kid,
Wow.
like 100%. And so I got to watch him be buried, move to his resting place. And then I wasn't able to attend the second one because I had to hurry up and get back. I left early from my leave to get back because I think my unit needed me, especially the soldiers that trusted me to be that senior advisor to my company commander.
As a soldier or a leader in charge of soldiers like that, how do you help them cope with a loss like that? I can't imagine that's easy. My people from my generation, and I'm probably 10 years older than you or somewhere in that area. Um, you push those feelings down, you just move forward.
Mhm.
We didn't deal with it. How do you deal with it in today's army or the army that you were in? How did you handle that? How did you what did you say to your soldiers to try to alleviate some of that pain?
Yeah. First thing I had to do is figure out what I was going to do.
Mhm.
So that flight from the States all the way back to Afghanistan, it was probably a tough one because I was like, okay, I need to get a hold of my emotions and figure out how I'm handling this myself. All right. Once I figured that out, I knew that they were already hurting. Some of them didn't get to say goodbye. That our deployment in overall was a great deployment because we all got to learn each other and become a family. However, we were going through other struggles down there that wasn't even related to people being killed in action. I had some wounded in action that had to go
Mhm.
back home. We were dealing with a very toxic environment, not because of Afghanistan and the Taliban. we knew what to expect. We knew who they were, the enemy, and how they
Sure.
felt. We were dealing with some toxic leadership that was above us that came from the same location. So I knew that was already painful for them. But then when they lost that, some of them didn't get to say goodbye. Like they were supposed to be moved from one fob to another, combat operations. We understand it, just so that they can be there to say goodbye. And they did not get to say goodbye. Some of them didn't even know that a soldier passed away until they went down to the tarmac and then they seen the actual casket.
Wow.
So it's tough. So I had to get back there. I had to establish myself back in thing. I was gone for about a good 15 days, and I had to establish myself back. Hey, I'm back. Hey, let's talk about who needs to talk, because what you should be providing people with is the chaplain. All right, you should be providing people with counseling, but because of the up tempo in Afghanistan, that that possibility was very slim. And those two soldiers wasn't the only ones who died. We had another one from another company that got hit. So it was kind of almost like coming back to say, hey, let me get out and do ruck marches with my soldiers. Let me get out there and be with them where they are, in the suck. Let me go lie under the stars. Okay. I can do admin stuff any day. I have admin people. And so that's what I did nonstop. I got no sleep because I didn't feel that that's what was needed. I needed to be with them. And I think that's what ended up building the bond between me and my soldiers that got them back in the fight. They told me exactly how they felt. And I did not minimize that because that's their feelings. And they were 100% accurate for who they were. And so we talked about those feelings. And it took not being a first sergeant and actually relating to my soldiers and to bring us all together even closer. Because when you have a tragedy like that, you come closer to the individuals within your organization. And I think they respected that. And they knew I didn't get a lot of sleep because I felt like if I wasn't there, something else is going to happen. So one mission to come in, I was on it. It's like, hey, where y'all going? Oh, we about to go out here. Well, let me go get some water and stuff, everything else. I'm back out. And I think the soldiers saw that. And I think because of that, they respected me a lot more.
That must have taken a toll on you, though.
Oh, man. I don't sleep well now. All right. So the effects of combat still exist today in me
Sure.
and all of them. We might cope very well and say things like, I'm okay. That's the greatest lie
Sure.
that any soldier or man in society can say, I'm okay. Because truly, that's a way to get people off your back to not ask more questions.
Because a lot of the time we don't think people really care when they ask that. It's just something, are you okay, is just words coming out of somebody's mouth. Nobody can really understand what any of us are going through on a personal level.
100%. And that's why you have to learn how to share when you're not really okay. But men in this society right now, we're not taken as if we're supposed to be the strong people. We're supposed to be the ones that head of household and and we can't be showing that much weakness. And then if we do show weakness, sometimes people don't respond well to when we show weakness, or they say something that might be inappropriate or not the right response, and then we don't share with them anymore. We only give them what we want to give them. And that happened a lot, especially once I came back from Afghanistan. I shared very little. Some people would say something that I'd be like, oh, okay, well, no need to share with you again. So I'd only give them the piece that they need. They ask questions, I'd give them that piece, but I'd never go any further into the emotional and mental aspects of what was going on with me.
To me, that's an epiphany, because I think this is super interesting, because I think our society oftentimes doesn't understand what men really go through and how much we have to put our feelings aside because we just have to get the mission done, right? Even at home, in our home families, we're trying to keep everybody calm, everybody relaxed, not worried. And so we take on those extra burdens. How long was it before you realized that you needed to open up a little bit?
So I think my thoughts of suicide and everything else probably started in Washington, Joint Base News Report. Once I got back, I would isolate myself. I would not go out. I wouldn't talk to people. And I'm in a motorcycle club and everything. So generally, like, people would push for me to come out and say, hey, man, you want to come out, ride your motorcycle and whatever else. It finally took somebody coming to my home where they knew I was and said, hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's up with you? And they drugged me out. It took a lot. I didn't get help and seek help in from Afghanistan tragedies until I got into Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, as a equal opportunity advisor and this and that. And it's very important that you go seek that help. But the Army is not built, unfortunately, where you get that opportunity. As soon as you get back, you got some block leave, you got some reception integration that's going to go on. And then guess what? You're back in the fight. That is not enough for people. So you have to be able to figure out how to do it yourself after that with the resources the military gives you. I went to Fort Leonard Wood and finally I just broke. So Dr. Love was her name.
Oh, wow.
Yep, Dr. Love. And it's surreal. Like Dr. Love. She used to get me in that room and tell me some things that I really didn't want to hear about myself.
Sure.
And it was so funny. Like there was sometimes I was like, man, I don't want to hear you right now. But because she was in that position to listen, she knew more, learned more about me than I knew. And she used to, one of the things she said to me, there's a person I cannot stand in this country, probably in this world. And he's still in the military today.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I wonder how it's really affecting him. Because it seems to affect you, but I don't think he's probably going through the same things. He might not have those same feelings. And I was like, man, you know what? I don't want to hear you tonight now. Because I put a lot of stuff on that individual. The choices, the decisions that he made created some of that stuff in my mind. However, she brought up a good point. How's he influenced? Is he going through the lack of sleep, anger issues, depression? Probably not. But I'm going through all this stuff because of that person. And so she taught me how to let go of that. I haven't seen her since probably I left, but I got to go back there to visit because my kids were going to school there. So I didn't uproot them. And I finally got to see her again. And man, it was just I dropped to my knees on the ground because I would not be here today if it wasn't for her.
Wow.
100%.
That feeling of suicide, that's a dark place.
Oh, very.
And people don't understand that. My experience as I talk with people is that people see suicide or thoughts of suicide as weakness. They don't understand that it's more of a feeling of hopelessness. It's not necessarily weakness. It's a lack of the ability to cope with whatever you've gone through. So for you to overcome that, I think speaks volumes to your resilience and the ability to find help. What do you say to people who may be going through that right now?
Hey, they're not alone. And I know a lot of people say, well, at that moment, they are alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I always let them know, hey, look, there's people that want to talk to you, whether that be professionals or friends and family. There's somebody that has time that will take that time. You just have to reach out. And I'm lucky that I have friends that reach out to me. And that is what exposed the situations that I had ongoing where I isolate and, I could be real, like, right at somebody really quick. I didn't have no patience for ignorance or bullshit. Excuse my language. So I tell people now, look, find that one person that is going to be there for you. When you find that person, be direct with them. I am not in a good place right now. Being in a dark place, I am very comfortable in dark right now because I've been there. And so if you want to talk to me, hey, look, I'll just walk down that ladder and I will sit there with you and we're going to have those hard conversations. And I'm fine with it now, but it took counseling for me to be fine with that. I know how dark it can get, but I also know what that light feels like too and how warm it can be when people actually care that you are still remaining within the fight. You're still moving forward like I do. That's what I do with their flag. You keep moving forward. It's not about saying, the status quo, everything, I'm good where I'm at. No, I'm never good where I'm at. I want to make sure I keep running from them demons that will always chase me because I allow them to chase me. I never let go of them because it's the trauma. But once you let go, and man, light shines a lot brighter. That darkness goes away.
How difficult was the transition from being a soldier to being a civilian?
Man, about bills? Bills show up on the 1st and 15th every month. So the transition, the stress didn't really start once you were in the ETS mode or a chapter for retirement, right? I was still getting paid. That stress and that transition is when that first paycheck turns off. You don't get it, but every month versus every other week. It was stressful. You have to find a job, and you're not used to civilian life. You're used to military life. I know where I'm going to be. I know the structure. I know that if I get sick, I'm still getting paid. And now I go into a civilian world where, like, I can see somebody who is not a very good worker, but I still have to work with this person, right? In the military, you're not a good worker. I can tell you're not a good worker, and I can counsel you. As a matter of fact, I can probably try to get rid of you and get rid of you. But in the civilian world, oh no, it was a total different. I had to learn how to really drop my military customs, courtesies, and behaviors and actions we can take and adjust. And sometimes my work ethic is a little bit more than others that might not have been in the military. I had to learn that. And I could not apply how I was raised up for 20 years from the age of 17 to retirement and apply that and say, you need to be that. Civilian world's totally different. And that was a major adjustment. The pay was better. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But it was easier for me to adjust to things, especially once my VA disability came in and everything else, my ratings, because now I have a choice. I don't have to do stuff. I do them because I want to do them, not because I have to do them. So that transition is stressful, but it's doable. Today, I still have my military mannerisms, but I've learned to mask them with other individuals who have been in the military, so it makes me a little bit more comfortable because I work on a fort with soldiers,
Sure.
people who retired, so it's easy for me. Now, when I tried to try to be a professor in a college, then there's going to be some probably significant emotional events because I'm no longer in that realm where I can talk about things that are military and relate them to our job, and that's probably going to be a little bit difficult, but I'll make it. This is the resiliency piece of who I am now.
Now, after retirement, you didn't stop serving though. You shifted into community work.
Yes, indeed.
So you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I found out that there's gaps within what our government is and isn't doing.
Okay.
Like homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big thing. We have a homeless community that's right down the street from us that lives over near the river.
Yep.
All right, near the riverfront. We got one in downtown KC Mo and KCK, and they're huge. So what I've started doing is I started to identify where these little camps were of these individuals. And I started to raise not funds, but stuff. So snacks, anything proteins, gloves, hats. There's an organization called Rapid Response that's in town. I utilize them because they have resources. So I could take those resources out and help these homeless individuals, whether it be veterans or just individuals down on their luck. So I got out there. And when I talk about get out there, I get in my car, I load up all of these resources, and then I park my car, load up a backpack like I'm ruck marching, and I go out there and talk to these homeless individuals. I find out, what is your story? Like, how did you end up here? And, which could be a painful conversation,
Sure.
right? It's opened up a traumatic event for them. But I found that they actually like the fact that somebody wants to talk to them about what happened to them. So I give them things to keep them warm, which is donated from like people out of the Rock Creek community where I live. They are very humble people that want to help these individuals. So they provide things like snacks and proteins and hats and scarves. And it's been the greatest feeling ever because some of these people just smile and like, God bless you. I tried to give 2 bags to one person because I was like, you might need this. Maybe you have somebody else. And it's like, no, give it to somebody else. They might need it. You'd be surprised on how many homeless people don't want to overindulge in getting stuff because there's other people like them. They'd rather give me stuff. And I'm like, I don't need that. Like, you need it. So it's been very beneficial. I've probably expanded now all the way up to Topeka. I can park my car and hop out and people will come help me unload stuff. I've included my motorcycle club, the community. I've kids come with me now from different friends and family. so that they can get volunteer hours, and we can write that
Wow.
up so that they can do that for college submissions and everything else. So it's gotten pretty big. So besides just that, I coach kids in sports. I've been doing that since my son turned 5 because I felt like, you know what, maybe I can do a little bit more to help kids grow in terms of probably keeping away from like teamwork because they're all different. But it's okay to be different, but it's not okay to do something to somebody else because they're different.
Sure.
So I've been teaching soccer since my son was 5. So I've been teaching the same set of kids for the past almost 6 years, 6, 7 years. And I've loved every bit of it. And that's part of the community service stuff I've been doing.
Were you a soccer player?
I was a soccer player for a little bit, never made it to the collegiate level because as an Army brat, we jumped around so
That's
much.
right.
We'd get a letter here, but we're no longer there. So I missed out on those opportunities. So I wanted to make sure that my son had all those opportunities here in Lansing. I will not move him until he graduates. He's going to go he's been from K, he's going to graduate in Lansing.
Wow. Let's talk about your 13.1 miles every week. You carry the American flag. We made sure we had one out here for you.
Yes.
To be sure that it represents. What does that symbol mean to you?
Man, hope, freedom. I understand that this country feels that we have a lot of bad things going on, and we do. I mean, the first thing you got to identify a problem is a problem. But me carrying that flag, people can refocus and say, okay, yeah, we're still a country. We still got a lot of good things going on. Let's identify the bad and let's go ahead and kill those things so we can move forward to another thing, right? I've been carrying that flag because that's what I used to wear on my uniform. And at one point in time, if anybody's in the military, we didn't even have a flag on our uniform.
Right.
Right. And then once we did that, I was like, you know, what better way is to carry the flag when I run? And that way people can be motivated and possibly have that one good thing that might keep them moving forward throughout the day. So I've gotten it all. Honks on horns.
Yeah.
I've had people salute me, that probably veterans. I had an old man, I forgot his name. I still have the image of him. He stopped his car. Now, I knew for a fact he probably shouldn't have been walking in that heat. But he was like, no, sir. He said, I just want to walk with you. And he walked over a mile.
Wow.
And then I walked him back to his car because I said, I can't have you walking on the side of the road by yourself. And he just said, thank you. And you know what? I don't know why he did that, but it must have been something in him that he had to get out. And I think that probably made his day. I haven't seen that person since then, but there's multiple people who stop me on the side of the road. We take pictures. I remember the law enforcement did it too. The state trooper came out, and then the state trooper's dad, who was a state trooper, with his wife came out, and they took photos with me, and they were just like, thank you, because this is what we need to see. There's bad going on, but we need to see the positive in everything too. All right, I can chase bad all day. But when we start creating positive, other people can be positive and we can move forward and have great conversations about the situations that we can fix them.
Seems like today's youth don't have that same sense of patriotism that we had when we were younger, and they don't understand that feeling. What would you say to them?
It's unfortunate because it's not on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less on society in which they grew up. It starts at home. So my son runs races with me, like 5Ks and things like that.
Yeah.
He carries the fallen heroes flags because he's named after, my son is named after David and Jason and who I lost downrange. So if I am an active person and I'm a patriot and I feel that way, my son most likely would do it. And all my kids are. That's why my daughter joined the military.
Yeah.
They all kind of follow suit. They emulate what they see. So if you're not as patriotic, you might be that person on 4th of July that might wear some shorts that have the U.S. flag on it, but that don't really make you patriotic. That just means you bought something. My kids emulate what I am. The kids that on my soccer team, they carry the U.S. flag around the field.
Wow.
Okay, so I mean that's how you have to do it. We have to start at home to get kids in that patriotic mindset. If you don't start there, then they have to learn it themselves, and that takes longer. And they might not ever get it. Some of them just don't.
If you could challenge our listeners with one action this week to strengthen their unity in their neighborhood, what would it be?
Go talk to somebody that you have never talked to in your neighborhood. and
That's
actually
interesting.
introduce yourself. Because we as people, we see people every day and we never make a connection with them. No, go talk to them. You'll be surprised at what you find out about that person. And that person might be able to help you. We need to get back to that system of let me communicate with you because you might know something that I don't. I talked to a guy who was walking down my street with his two dogs, and I found out he was a lawyer. I was like, hey man, can you tell me something about nonprofit organizations and how I can start this? He gave me all the information. We stood there for an hour. Never
Wow.
would have happened if I just didn't say, hey, how are you? What's your name? What do you do? He had just retired. So I was like, well, retired people don't want to talk about what they did. But he was very happy to, hey, no, this is how you do it. You go here. Hey, so just go talk to somebody that you never talked to before and get their story. You might make a friendship that might last a lifetime.
You said something earlier when we started talking. You said you try to do things, try to be comfortable doing the uncomfortable.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So in my field of where I work at the Army Sharp Academy, people have to be you have to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that always comes all the way to my house. Like my daughter, I had to learn about talking about sex with my daughter, right?
Ooh.
I didn't want to have that conversation with my daughter, but she was thinking about it. So if I, her father, don't talk about it, she's going to get that from someone else, right? So you have to learn how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And those conversations sometimes that people have, we have a divide in our country right now that can be probably eliminated if we just start having conversations. And sometimes it might be an uncomfortable conversation, whether it be racism, sex, or whatever else. But if you can be comfortable in those situations, then you know what? We can open up a lot more doors. All right. Right now, we have parents uncomfortable talking to their kids about sex and the story about how our country started from one thing and now we're here. And now they don't want to talk about it. Why? It's not you, right? It was someone else in the past. And even if it was some relation to, it's not you now. So why not just have the conversation? It's okay to be uncomfortable. But you need to learn how to be comfortable so that we can move ahead. History repeats itself. If you don't want to discuss what happened in the past, don't worry, it'll show up again.
Those are all great pieces of advice. I think people often lose that. So I ran for county commissioner. I didn't win. Then I ran for Leavenworth city commissioner. I won that, but I used that philosophy a lot as I visited a lot of coffee shops, and I don't drink coffee, to meet with people in those situations, to just talk with them about their concerns, about things that were uncomfortable at times. We have a lot of issues going on just in our community, and it can be very divisive, let alone what's going on in our country at this time. And before we transition into the second segment, we talked a little bit about that. I do, and it's interesting that you talk about homeless shelter or homelessness. I am wearing the Community of Hope, Interfaith Hope,
Nice.
nonprofit shirt, so we are repping them. They had their night of cold, or their fundraiser. They did a 5K, and so they raised some money. Part of it's going to be going to technology, which we're going to try to help them with.
Nice.
And we try to do our part for the community as well, as much as we can, to try to help our community grow, because our community, and the reason we started this podcast is because our community has so many resources, so many individuals that want to help people. And there is just no way for us to know all about them. And so we've gotten anywhere from 50 to 1,000 views, depending on the video, but we have talked to so many different people, just trying to introduce our community to all the services that are available to them out there.
That's honorable right there.
And so it's super exciting. But now to the fun part. Rapid fire questions
Right on.
with Marvin Lockett.
I'm ready.
One word that defines unity.
Family.
Okay, I like it. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay. Early morning run or evening run?
Evening run. Once I got out of the military, there's no need to wake up early to run.
Most inspiring place you have run?
Most inspiring place that I ran, I would most likely have to say in Puerto Rico.
Okay, I like it. One value you refuse to compromise?
Loyalty.
I like it. Leadership is influence or service?
Influence.
Okay. A book that shaped your worldview.
Oh man, I don't even have one for that right now. I'm
Okay.
reading a book right now, but I think it's more or less on why people don't want to talk about racism.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. That'd be a whole nother podcast. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
One thing communities need more of.
Fellowship.
Okay. One thing they need less of.
Divide.
Okay. Most powerful conversation you've had after a run.
The why I ran.
What motivates you more, discipline or faith?
Probably my faith.
Okay. We haven't even talked about your faith today. And you do seem like a man of faith.
I am. I'm tatted up. I got all kind of stuff on my body that
Okay.
indicates for Christ and humanity and everything else, the stuff that I do within our community. I'm a definitely a spiritual. I don't believe everybody has to go to a building.
Sure.
I believe if you want to sit there where you're at, you do what you got to do. It's between you and the man. So, but yeah, I feel that that is a need. You have to have some balance.
Most best piece of advice you've ever received.
Best piece of advice:
Hmm.
never quit.
Okay. What breaks unity fastest?
The lack of trust.
What keeps you moving forward?
I have people who are watching me that if I stop, they will.
Wow. Marvin, that's today's show, man. This has been super interesting. When you reached out, or we reached out to you and you responded, I was super excited to have you on the show. Honestly, I didn't know what I was getting into, so I started digging into your background and really understanding you. And you are a very inspiring individual, and the things that you do for our community don't go unnoticed. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Hey, trust me, this ain't the last y'all gonna see me. I'm planning on getting into these schools and different school systems so I can start teaching our seniors before they get out of here and go to college or trade schools, uh, how to inspire them to do things that help them grow and not make them die in terms of mental, emotional, and physical trauma.
Have you thought about getting involved with JROTC?
Yes, over there at Leavenworth is where we have ours, the Lansing
Hmm.
Leavenworth. I was down there teaching sharp stuff, but now I'm going to go through the school systems because you got to start at the top or the
Hmm.
principal so we can get in there. But I do believe we need to get there now. I believe, honestly, in the beginning of the year, there should be a session. And at the end of the year, there should be a session talking about prevention of multiple things. Right now in our area, we have a big issue with overdosing of drugs
Yes,
because our kids think they're hood, but we're in the country.
that's
so,
right.
so trying to get in there and talk about prevention and the impacts it has on our community, and that's what I want to do. If I can get in there, I can make sure that now our kids move on to be great citizens themselves, and then they can end up raising great citizens, and we can stop the chain of generational trauma that
Mhm.
has been occurring for a lot of families out there. They just don't realize it.
That's our Matcha Minutes for this week. Thank you for joining. If you like the content, please like and subscribe so we can continue bringing more interesting stories about our community, about individuals in our community, and the great things that our community has to offer. That's our show for this week. Please stay engaged, stay respectful, and keep building stronger communities.